This is Olivia J Price, your host for Buy or Die, and we have a very special guest in the building today, Mr. Terrell Patton. Terrell Patton, I mean, my friend, we've been knowing each other now for going on a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year. The experience, your energy, the lives that you touched along the way is infinite. And I was so blessed to have been on your team.
Yes.
I'm so blessed to have been able to be in this office with Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners Tucker office, to be exact, and for you to have shed a lot of light on the different things going on within our real estate industry, and that's what we're going to touch on. So today, I just want us to sit back, converse freely, and I want to touch on a lot of topics that I think a lot of realtors want to hear nowadays, especially with our changing market.
Let's do it.
So before we get in, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself? Because when I first came in, I remember the first thing you told me, you were like, Olivia, you're kind of hard to read. You're hard to read. And I was like,
and to this day, you still are. Like, where's the lie? Nah. But yeah,
no,
seriously.
For real, you did. And that stood with me because that made me understand that, first off, one, sometimes you have to let your guard down with people. You know what I mean? I've been in this industry not as long as you, not nearly as long as you, but I've developed a sense of like a shell. Right. So it's like team, no new friends. Actually.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean? But in this industry, it's good to be open, and it's good to let people like you in because there's so much, I would say, there's more to learn, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of time that I've been with you, I learned a lot.
Thank
I learned a lot.
Thank you for saying
And for real, honestly, because this industry is tough. This industry is not for the weak.
That's right.
The industry
At
is
all.
not for the weak. No.
Yeah.
And I realized that in order to build an efficient business, you need to know as many people as you can and develop some really solid relationships. I think we have a solid relationship.
Well, not even no think. There is no think. We do. What are you talking about?
We know. I'm sorry.
Like, what are you talking about?
You're
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely, we do.
You're right. So I know we have a solid relationship.
Right.
Now, would you be able to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah.
St. Louis in the house.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm originally from St. Louis. I've been in Atlanta a little over 31 years.
Wow.
So I came here when I was 2. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 52 years old. So I've been here a little over 31 years, and got into sales once I got here, and came at like 22. My wife at the time was just finishing up Spelman College and pregnant with our twins. So it was like, look, let's go. What we doing? You coming here? Or I'm coming back home. I'm like, nah, we're gonna make it work in Atlanta. So that landed me here, and I got into sales right when I got here.
What was your first sales job?
My first sales job, I was selling overseas phone cards to military people. Yeah, so I was working overnight from like 9 to 7 a.m. And so back, there was no internet where like voice over IP, there was none of that back then. There was, people had to buy phone cards and make the call and do it through a third party. So I was the third party. They would call in on the phone card, and then we connect them with their loved ones here in the States. And so we did that to military bases. We sold contracts and stuff to them. But anyway, yeah, that was my very first sales job. Then I went into MCI.
That's interesting. And what's MCI?
Don't ask me the acronym, but it was a telephone company. It was like Bell South or something like that, but they did worldwide. Yeah.
But I'm always interested to know, especially for someone that's been in the industry for so long, what did you do prior to? How did it lead you into real estate? Leaving the third party
phone sales and stuff.
Card sales industry. How did you get into real estate?
Well, I would be home. Of course, I get off at 7 in the morning, so I'm home during the day. I was home one morning, couldn't go to sleep, and I'm watching TV, and they was talking about real estate.
Oh, wow.
And how to go to school for real estate or something like that. And I was like, man, I think that'd be good. So I asked a couple of people actually that same day, just like, do you think I could do real estate? I'm only 22, 23 years old. Do you think I could do real estate? And it was like, absolutely. You're always selling. You know everybody already, and you just moved here. I think you could be. I said, but I don't know a lot of people. Like, you know everybody. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it.
That. Yeah, your relationship is endless.
Yeah. So I said, you know, I'm gonna go for it. And so I did real estate classes during the day, and worked at night, and got my license, and the rest was history.
How was that process back in the day, getting your license? 'Cause I know the licensing process now is pretty extensive.
It was exactly the same. I went to the school that most people went to that's on this side of town anyway, which was the Georgia MLS school right on Montreal, which is still there today.
Yes.
Same school, ran by Bob Hart. He's still there today.
Yep.
So that was in 98 is when I got my license. So the same thing, 75 hours requirement. And it was cool. And I looked at, it's funny because I heard so many horror stories of people not passing the test.
It's still horror stories too.
Yeah, to this day. And I tell people, I always looked at, you know, going through that training as if I just want to be good to people, right? So if you do, if certain things that you do in real estate that the real estate board will slap you on the wrist, or you'll get a fine for that, or this, you can use your license. I use the analogy of how I treat people. You know, you treat people this way, and yeah, you'll lose a friend. You treat people this way, somebody might hurt you. You treat people this way, you may lose your life. And so, first time, passed.
Me too.
So I just used that analogy to, like, you know, to learn the license law, because that was a lot. I was good at math already, so I wasn't worried about that. But it was learning the license laws and stuff, and that was the way that I learned the license laws. Because my instructor kind of threw that out there to me, and I grasped that concept and passed it. So getting my license was a breeze, to be honest. I got it pretty quick.
That's good, because I know some people, it takes them a while.
I've sat with people. I've steered people to special training because they've taken it 6 or 7 times. But you want to tell you something. Those people that it took them a while to pass, a lot of them, a good percentage of them anyway, when they do finally get their license, they become really good agents. I mean, because they're like, I never thought, you know, that I would even be at this point. You know, I thought I would never pass that test. So now that I have these licenses, I'm going to make the best of it, you know?
That's true.
Yeah, so I've seen that too.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that, and that goes back into upbringing and experience.
Yep.
So when I came into the real estate industry, I came from car sales. I came from car sales. From car sales, I went to insurance, and then I'm now in real estate.
Right.
And I can honestly say, when it's those people that have a little bit more edge about them, that they came from some stuff, they make really good agents. I could believe that, because I know some people right now. They either were receptionists for real estate offices, transaction coordinators, right? And then they get into the industry and they kill it. So I always tell people, no matter what path you take, you can always get to the finish line. It's just a matter of getting to the finish line.
Yeah.
I honestly can say that. So now move forward. You were selling phone cards. Now you see the commercial, passed your real estate license. How did you end up at Keller Williams?
This is a funny story. So I had my license as an agent, probably like 20 something years, right? As an agent. Yeah, I got my license in 98. Yes. Well, no, so I had my license 11 years before I got with Keller Williams.
Okay.
So from 98 to 2009, right? I came to Keller Williams in 2009. I was recruited over here. So I got my license, and I only worked for 2 firms, the firm that I left and now Keller Williams. I've been here a little over 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually in Vegas. I had one of my buddies was having a birthday, and he was staying at the Bellagio. So we all were staying at the Bellagio. So I had a closing a couple of weeks before that trip. And the closings was with a Keller Williams agent. And if you were around in 2008, going into 2009, we experienced a crash. Not a down market, a crash where they stopped. Real estate, you couldn't even sell a house. They could have had a clear to close today, tomorrow. Banks was like, no, we're hold up. Yeah, and that lasted maybe, the halt lasted 2 months, but the bounce back lasted years, right? So anyway, we're coming out of a crash. I had been a managing broker from 2004 to 2008
So
for
let's
another.
back up.
Okay.
Back up then. So how did you get into the managing broker position?
So remember I said I was selling the phone cards or whatever, and I started working at MCI. When I went to MCI, within probably 8 months, I became a leader. I became a supervisor. So I had my own team of sales agents. So I ran a team every day of 18 sales agents selling business long distance, right, to companies. So I ran that team. So I got great leadership training at that place, at MCI. Some of the best leadership training in the world. I really say, because a lot of our other managers and supervisors have went on to do great things. Like a lot of them are leaders. So, and we all contributed to the training that we received at MCI, right? So I was there for a few years, dual career agent at the time. And so when MCI WorldCom folded, they were the second Enron, if you remember Enron. Enron was this big, yeah, you're young. So it was a company that like kind of went back.
I said, I'm not even gonna let you know what age.
Okay. So anyway, so MCI folded, right? And they gave us all packages. I was already selling real estate. I was already doing well with it, but needed the benefits. I had small twins and all of that. So I stayed with MCI and did the dual career thing. But when MCI folded in like 2001, I believe it was, I went full time into real estate. 2001, 2002. And I found this little company, started working with them. Say little company, they were part of Realtors. They were ERA. Buckhead Realty was the name of it. And I went in there and I crushed it. Became number one fairly quick, kind of like your path, kicking it. And kind of just took off. And our managing broker at the time was pregnant. And she was about to go off and have a baby. So the owners approached me and said, hey, do you mind, leading the office in the interim? We see people already asking you questions. You're doing really well. And, I know we'll take a little bit away from your business, but we won't charge you anything on your deals while you're doing this. And I was like, yeah, it's a breeze. I'm answering questions anyway. And I did that. And while I did it, the agents started bringing me people saying, hey, this person want to join. So when she was gone for like 4 months, we grew astronomically, right? And so they said, you know what? We have another office. We want to put you over there. Wow. And it was on the south side or something like that. I had been in Atlanta for a while. I ran these Atlanta streets. I had so much fun. I knew my way around. But one place I never went was on the south side. I'm like, nah, man, I just never ventured south. And so, long story short, he said, all right, we'll leave you here and we'll put her there. And I was like, ooh, she lives around the corner. She ain't gonna like that, right? That's what I'm saying in my mind. And they said, we'll handle that part. So they gave her a really good incentive and they moved her, down south and gave me that office. And I stayed in that office and ran that office, took it to probably about over 400 agents. And this was in a great time. This was 2004 to 2000, till I left, 2009. And we grew really, really big. I grew a second office. We moved it in Tucker. So, which brings me.
So you've been in Tucker?
Yeah, we moved. I was in Stone Mountain. We moved that office to Tucker.
Okay.
Right across the street from the board. Right across the street from the cab. That brick building right across the street. That was our building. Well, anyway, so the market crashed. A lot of agents start getting out of the business, getting quote unquote real jobs. And I even told the owners, I said, look, man, I have to start back selling, because I had stopped selling and everything. I'm full time now, right? And so I said, look, I have to go back to selling because the office Everybody's gone. Pretty much a lot of people have left. The office is not doing the same numbers, and how brokers get paid is a percentage of what the office does. And so I said, you know, my salary is basically in half. There's no way I can live off of this. And he understood. He said, well, I'll let you sell and you still can run the office. Since there's not that many agents no more, we can, you know, you can run 180 agents and still sell. I said, cool. So that's what I did. And everybody else was complaining that they were, oh, I sold a $150,000 house or a $125,000 house because the market had crashed, right? And the only thing that was really moving was cash deals or low-hanging fruit or short sales where houses weren't really worth much. And agents, instead of selling those, back then price points in our area was like $275 anyway. It wasn't like they were astronomical, right? So, but
$275 back then?
Yeah. So $275, something like that. This Southland, all that little area, right?
Okay.
And so, but now the houses are selling for 100, 125, 150. So they're complaining. And with me, because I had been running the office, I like to say I had fresh legs. So while they were complaining, I just sold a $100,000 house. I was like, yeah, just sold a $100,000 house. Where's my next one? So I'm selling $700,000, $800,000 houses in a month, and they're complaining and getting out the business. So like I said, I had fresh legs. So I'm booming, and I ran across this Keller Williams agent, and she knew it, and she gave me this book. It was called The Shift Book. Gary Keller had just wrote it, and I like, okay, thank you for the book. I put it down like I put any book down, and 2 weeks later we were going to Vegas, and I said, man, I'm gonna read. I grabbed that book last minute. I just grabbed it. I saw it leaving the house probably. Like, man, I'm gonna take this and read on the plane. Reading the book on the plane, and it was blowing my mind of the stuff that it was saying we need to be doing. Some of the stuff I was doing, and it was describing agents who were getting out of the business. And it was telling us how you're gonna have market share when the market does come back, because you're helping these people through these short sales and this, and you're acting when everybody else is complaining. It had a lot of that in it, right? So I can relate. Man, so we get to Bellagio about noon. He has the cabana set up for 2. We go down to cabana. I couldn't put the book down, so I have the book by the pool with the cabana. This lady walks over to me. She see me with the book. She said, have you ever met the author? I said, no. She said,
is Gary Keller at the hotel?
check this out. She said, have you ever met the author? I said, no. She said, I wrote some stuff in that book. And I said, oh, cool. Like, lady, leave me alone. And so, so she left. She came right back 5 minutes later. She said, you know, my husband and I like to get in business with at least 12 people every year. I'd like to invite you to this event that I'm having. And I was like, all right. I was using my business card as a bookmark. I said, here, send me some information about it. And she was like, okay. And by now, my friends come over. She got us all captivated because she's brilliant, right? And she's got us captivated like that. And so we talk about 10 minutes. She leaves. Get back to Atlanta. I get an email from her assistant. Says MAPS coaching. I'm like, what is this? Because she never mentioned Keller Williams. She never mentioned Keller Williams. So I'm like, oh, man. And I look up what's MAPS and say, oh, Keller Williams. So this lady's trying to recruit me. And so she had the region reach out to me. But the lady was Diana Kokoska. I don't know if you ever heard that name because you're kind of new in Keller Williams, and she's gone now. But she wrote Bold. Like, Bold is her class. That's her life story.
Yes,
she wrote. She started MAPS. She was over
Before
all of Keller Williams.
I was like, I wonder if that's the
It's Diana Kokoska.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Diana wrote all of. She was over all of the training, all of the coaching, all of that. Her husband is Tony DeCello, who's the #1 agent coach. Like, he's the #1 coach in real estate.
Wow.
His name is Tony DeCello, and that's her husband. But anyway, and now she works right side by side with John Maxwell. She's just a dope lady, very, very brilliant. But anyway, I met her, and so she was on me, and she sponsored me in the Keller Williams. So that was like in August. So the event that she invited me to was Mega Camp. Keller Williams does that every year. Well, Diana does. She was the one that did that every year. That was her event, mega camp. So she invited me to mega camp. I met Gary. She had me going meeting all kind of people, but just a real genuine lady. So I got back to Atlanta. I said, well, I don't need Keller Williams. They just gave me everything at the mega camp. I'm just gonna use their stuff. And exactly. But it's hard. It's hard if the conversations aren't being had around you to just do that. And so I found myself coming to some of their training and stuff. And
so what office were you?
This one.
Oh.
My other office was right around the corner. So Diana reached out to the regional director of this region, like Bob Kalinsky and them, and reached out to them and said, hey, there's this guy, I met him in Vegas. He's a managing broker, which means he recruits at another place. We need this guy. Y'all go get him. I want him in my downline, right? And so they put me in touch with the owners here, and I met with the owner here. And I always felt like the questions that I was getting asked, and it wasn't just about real estate, it was about my life, right? It was about life. They were like, what's your future look like? And I was like, man, nobody's ever asked me that in real estate. And then I kind of quickly discovered that what I was doing was hustling, and I really wasn't building a business. And I said, man, they got the structure to build a business over here. And so a couple of months later, I joined. It took a minute after mega camp, because like I said, I'm gonna steal their stuff, and I'm gonna be over here. And I end up joining, man. And right when I joined, probably within the first 2 months, I sold like $2 or $3 million worth of real estate just by implementing some of the things that they were saying. I was doing all of that, but the way that I implemented it, like setting up a database, I had never heard of that. I never even heard of the word lead generation. I just was doing it because I was hustling. But the way you structured it, though, I became intentional about it. I was accidentally being successful, basically. You know what I mean? When I say accidentally, I was doing the work, but I was just doing the work. I had no system behind it. And so I came here and I learned the system really quick. And then the same thing happened to me again. Within 6 months, the team leader, he lived in Athens, so he used to drive here every day.
That's a drive.
Right. So he was like, he was ready to get out. So they tapped me and said, hey, you've been a broker before. A lot of people know you. We've asked around. You respect it.
Yeah.
Do you mind leading this? And I said, absolutely not. I said, dude, I said in the last 3 months, I made more money than I've made, the last 2 years, right? I said, no, I'm loving this market. I ain't going back. I mean, I'm out here. And he said, I mean, and the owner's smart. He's a business guy. He never let up off of me. So he said,
that's one
he came
thing
back.
Too, man.
Yeah, they ain't gonna let up. So he came back and he said, man, let me make you an offer. So he made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. And because he asked me again some personal questions about what I want to do. Do you want to do this forever, whatever? And do you want to build wealth, or do you want to do this? It's just some questions and things that he asked me. I remember like it was yesterday. And I said, you know what, I'll do it in the interim for you, but just until you find someone. Because I had just made the move. I wanted to protect my interest in this place. And so I did it in the interim from 9 to 1 for about 3 months. And what did it for me was every month, all of the managers and his managing brokers in his group get together for a mastermind. And we talk about vision casting and all of these different things. And sitting in that room, I had an opportunity to buy into the school, which I did. We have Atlanta Partners Real Estate School, which is killing it.
They are.
Yeah. I bought into the property management company.
Yeah.
We have Atlanta Partners Property Management. I'm an owner in that. We have over 7,000 properties or so in our portfolio right now. And I remember we started from zero. We have insurance now. So I'm part of insurance and part of a title company. So I have ownership in all of that.
Okay.
But it started, and that wasn't offered back then, all of it back then. But those were the type of conversations that I was hearing when I was going to those early meetings that, hey, we're about to start a school. And I'm like, people are getting out of real estate. Why are we starting a school? Okay. Because he's a believer in the opinion. Like, so what goes down comes back up even higher, right? So he was just in position. I was like, man, these people must got some money because they can withstand this. Like, they're investing in this now. I'll never forget when I first took over this office. Within the first year, we started doing a remodel. And even the contractor said, I'm going into real estate offices taking stuff out. Y'all remodeling in this market? But he knew it was going to come back up. And that was going to attract people. When I came here, we had 42 agents.
Oh, wow.
42. And we're right at about 300 now.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So it's just a vision, Cash. And so I know that was a long answer, but that's how I got to Keller Williams, and that's how I actually got to be in the role that I'm in now. Yeah. But it all started from MCI, the leadership training and stuff that I got, and just how to lead people and deal with people. And I'm a firm believer, if you know, we hear it all the time, if you treat people how you want to be treated, you know, you'll never, you know, meet a stranger. You'll always have relationships. You'll always get what you want, you know, helping people get what they want. So that's you know, that's huge for me. So that's one of the things that we've done.
Corresponds with you in terms of how you move, because what's funny is because my teammate Nakia, she's like, I never Terrell already before we came here. We were in the Snellville KW office.
Oh wow.
She's like, yeah, I never TB already before, man. He was talking about manifestation and this and that. But man, he was very captivating. And it's funny when we came back here. Yeah. So I would say that from the agents I've spoken to who work with you currently or just came into communication with you have all said the same thing.
Yeah. And I love that. I love to hear that, and I love to see you guys go and do big things, and I can say, you know what? I touched that person's life, whether good or bad, I touched it. I don't know. But no, mostly have been in a good way, in a good life. And I always tell people, you know, my counterparts mostly, like, or other brokers and stuff, people have to be happy where they are. And as long, and if that's, you know, maybe not be with your brokerage or whatever, we're still one community, you know, and I look at it that way. You know, of course, if I can have every agent in Atlanta in this place, I would, because I would be able to hire more people, have more leverage, spend a little bit more time on the golf course or something, probably, because we've grown this big old thing. But that's not the calling. That's not, I don't see anyone doing that. Like, to be honest, where every agent is under one brokerage. It's different brokerages for a reason. But I feel like if we foster the relationship enough and pour into each other, guess what? It makes everybody better.
I agree.
I love having conversations, whether you're with our organization or not, with agents or the brokers, because all it does is make me sharper, you know? So yeah, I'm a relationship driven person. I love relationships.
Me too. And when it goes back to what you said with MCI.
MCI, yeah.
When it came to the training and that kind of developed your leadership skills or enhanced your leadership skills. I would say the same thing when I was working at Mogul, Georgia. We were owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And Berkshire Hathaway's training and development was immaculate, because when I first came into the industry of car sales, I was new to Atlanta.
Right.
I didn't know anyone, and also I didn't have much sales experience.
Right.
So they threw me out in the wolves, but I would say that the training that they offered was just amazing. Wow. And it helped me in real estate.
That's
definitely
good.
so. So when it came to those systems, follow-ups, CRMs.
You was doing it.
Oh yeah, that's all we have in car sales. What you mean? We're sitting behind a desk cold calling out all day, you know, setting appointments. So having that skill set and bringing it to real estate, I definitely could say that it helped me 110%.
Yeah.
And leadership and development like that, it's priceless.
Yeah.
It's priceless. Yeah, it's priceless. Because now look at it, I'm like, we're not saying we're in a similar market like 2008.
Right.
But we are in a market where a lot of our agents are leaving.
Yeah.
A lot of agents
Absolutely.
are leaving,
Yep.
and a lot of us are in a predicament where I'm like, okay, is it still a good time to be a realtor or not? No, honestly, some people are
Okay.
really debating, like, okay, is this an industry that I really want to be in?
I'll answer that for you. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna sound like Nakia said. I'm gonna be manifesting or something like that. But no, history shows this. If you know, when the market is great, if you can picture this, when the market is great, a lot of agents get in, and that's what you saw. So the last 4 years ago, right? Like, wait a minute, they get money over there. I'm watching it, and it's even more apparent now because we have social media platforms and all of that. So you can see the success of people in real estate, right? So as the market goes up, the amount of agent that gets in goes up, right? So although there's a lot of deals, there's also a lot of agents. So you're still sharing those deals, right?
Very true.
As the market comes down, agents get out because the deals are going down. So agents get out. And then the cycle happens again. When the market turns, agents are going to still start getting back in. The advantage that people have when they fight and go through a shifting market, as the market's going to go up, before agents understand that it's going up, they're on the sideline. So now they're going to jump back in. By the time they jump back in, you got a head start. You got all that market share. All those people that they sold 1 or 2 houses to, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, they left them hanging. Those are orphan clients now, right? Because I'm not even in real estate. I'm not dripping on these people. They're not in my database. They're not seeing me active or anything. And when they make a move, before they call you that's on the sideline, they're going to call an Olivia Price because they're seeing you all over everything. You're still active. You know the market. You're dripping on them. You're sending stuff to their house, whatever, right? You met them at somewhere. You're emailing them. You're text blasting them. They see you're still active. They see you made it through. Now you just picked up that person. So this is the perfect time, I'm telling you, to get into real estate. Now, you have to be capitalized, meaning you have to have some money set aside or something so that you can, first of all, definitely make sure that you pay your bills, but it'll more than pay your bills, to be honest. But you have to have that cushion so that you start to get until you get that
I don't
momentum.
think people have that aspect right
The
there.
capitalization?
Yes.
No, that's 1,000%. Because you can look at one person that gets in the business and kind of take off, and then somebody else that gets in and struggle. You make it harder on yourself when you get in and you need a deal by next month.
Oh, yeah.
That's tough. When you know you got 6 months worth of reserve, you can come in and get the foundational stuff you need. You can, that's capitalization. The more you're capitalized, you can spend on marketing. You can do all of that and kind of take off a little quicker. And you may not have that, but understand where you are though. Understand like, okay, I don't have, I'm not capitalized. So understand that it's going to take you a little bit more time than someone who is.
Do you think that this business is a 3 to 6 or a 6 to 9 business or 9 to 12 right now in this market for a newer agent who's coming in?
When you say, now you're talking time frames of when you work?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're talking like turnaround as far as
Revenue.
doing
the work
and then seeing results. I'm thinking at least 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6.
I'm telling. And it depends on the agent. It depends on the agent and how much lead generation and work they're doing. But the average, like if someone's coming in,
I mean, where you can see revenue, where it's like, okay, I can do real estate, not a deal or two. 4 to 6 months. I feel like that's not.
So when you say do a deal, if someone comes in, I'm thinking you're saying for them to do their first deal.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I'm telling right now,
okay.
if I got my license today and I don't have someone like waiting on me, it could be 4 to 6 months before you do your first deal.
So after 4 to 6 months to get your first deal,
right?
I feel like in order for you to really get into the business and say like I do real estate, I'm thinking that's like what? That takes time.
So you're saying if they're surviving in it,
and can actually do the business.
Oh, you're talking about, writing contracts and just navigating through that.
You are actually making some revenue from it. And you're like, oh yeah, I can actually sell houses. Like that process, that's a process.
See, my thought on it is different because if I sell one house, I've proven that I can sell houses.
That's true too. That's true too. That's true too. But what's the ratio of agents
who sell one house and be gone next year or two? Yeah, that's gonna happen. It's a sell.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's some agents who sell 30 houses a year and can't do the business for real. They fall. They close each deal sloppy. You know, that's a difference. It just depends on what your
30 though.
Yeah, it depends. I just threw a number out there. But seriously, there's agents that I shouldn't say can't do the business, but do bad business.
Okay.
Do bad business. Okay. Trust me, I see it all the time on my end. I'm on the email string right now with an agent who's a veteran agent. I know this agent, and she's on the string, and this person is dead wrong, and they've been in the business for a long time, and I'm like, they gotta know better than that. Right? Mm-hmm. So it happens.
Okay.
It happens. I see it all the time. Yeah, 1000% it happens. So, but I'm saying if someone was to get in the business, and it don't have to take 4 to 6 months. That's just me guessing the average.
4 to 6 months, I think that's fair.
That's just me. It took me 6 months to get my first deal when I was in the business. I was calling out the phone book. 6 months too. Yeah, I was falling out the phone book. Right. And now you're doing whatever deals a year. So it happens.
But my question is this for you, because on our platform, Buy or Die, one of the things that we touch on is making sure that realtors understand the values of being a part of an association. Because I do know, especially for newer agents out there, a lot of times they really don't understand the investment that is needed to really do the business. I'm talking about, first off, your license, well, your course, of course.
Right.
To get your license, to onboard with the brokerage, and then to pay your association fees up front before you can. And right now, because of everything going on with our associations, a lot of people are just like, is it still good to even be with an association? Is Keller Williams preparing for anything like that you know of? Or how are we preparing for those conversations that's probably going to rise next year?
Yeah, well,
especially after the summit.
Yeah, I can't speak on Keller Williams as a whole, but I know in our organization and in our market centers, we still push for boards. I mean, we still want our agents to be a part of an association. All of our agents are required to be realtors. I don't see that changing because it's just it sets a separate standard. There's accountability there. When there's no accountability, I think you can. Yeah, it could be a wild. You took the words right out of my mouth. It could be a wild west situation where there's no accountability, and I want our agents.
Accountability. Break that down for me by accountability.
There's no board or there's no
middleman
where someone would have to sit down and actually arbitrate when we disagree. You know, when you're a part of a board and you're doing business with another realtor, and when something goes wrong in that sense, you are required to sit down and arbitrate and let the board deal with that. You can't go to the real estate commission. That's for the public. The agencies, the brokers have to get together and do arbitration. So now that saves me and my brokerage from spending hundreds of $1,000s on lawsuits every year or fighting, whether we're wrong or right. You still got to pay a lawyer to defend you, or to fight for your money or defend you if an agent goes out and does something wrong, as opposed to going to arbitration and letting the board work it out and then paying whoever gets paid. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely.
That's one of the biggest things, I mean, from a broker standpoint, but also from an agent standpoint.
I was just going to say, from a broker standpoint, I do understand that aspect of it. I myself is a living testimony that associations work. It can benefit your business.
Yeah.
I sat on a lot of boards. I met a lot of people.
Yep.
And that's really where I developed my sense of business for real estate. Right? It's bigger than just buying and selling, right?
Yep.
I want to know who's running what, who's who, or whatnot. And when you do have a business, it's imperative that you have those contacts in place,
Yeah,
right? For
absolutely.
mitigation reasons, like you just said, right?
Absolutely, because you're sitting in there with somebody that know you.
Right, and it helps
Most of the
too. Yeah, it
times, most
helps.
of the time, if they're in
Especially
your
when it
community.
comes to situations, because me and you had situations I told you about. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
this girl, or
yeah,
this agent, da 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 da, and it could be a lot,
yeah,
especially from agent to agent.
yeah.
But I guess at this point, the biggest question is, I guess you answered that. Yeah, you still feel as though we should be a part of an association.
Oh, I really do. I
Okay.
1000%,
Okay, despite
1000%.
everything that's going on.
I think our agents should definitely be. I know the associations are kind of, backed by a lot of the MLSs and all that stuff, but I think some things probably do need to change. There's a lot of smart people in these rooms that are working through that.
Oh, and I'm asking questions too. We had the
Yeah.
honor in interviewing Brad Mock, our CEO for GAR, Nakia Brooks, he's the
Okay.
vice president for political governmental affairs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're interviewing some top dogs here.
I love
You know
it.
what I mean? And I have questions.
Yeah.
And I think the more questions we start to have, the better understanding and
Yeah.
the value we can see within our associations.
I love
Because
it.
I'm not against our associations, not
Not at all. It's just
not at all.
questions.
It's questions
Yep.
and just making sure that whoever we're putting into these positions, that they're actually able to make a change for 2025.
Yeah.
Now, to end here, can you give us some information in terms of how do you see the market in 2025? Especially after elections, which is tomorrow. How do you see it?
Well,
How do you see it's going?
Well, I'm seeing the number of contracts that are closing last year and this year are almost even. There's like a 0.5% difference, right? So they're almost even. So I think, the low of 2023, I think we kind of bounced back from that in 2024.
Really?
Contract wise.
Some people's numbers. I'm like, oh.
That's some people. You remember, it's all about mindset too. You got to think about that because I've seen some people, double their business this year.
Well,
Yeah. See, there you go. You're right there.
So my counterparts, I'm looking at their numbers. I'm like, dang, they were killing it. During this time, I'm looking. I'm like, oh wow, it took a major decrease.
Yeah, and life happens. You just never know what could have caused that. But yeah, a lot of people business dropped off, but there's also a lot of people that business have like totally taken off. So the contracts is there, but what I see for 2025 is, buyer demand. There's still a lot of pent up buyers that I'm waiting to after the election. I want rates to go down a little bit more, and so I think once people have seen that, those 2%, 2.5% days are way behind us, and they're really starting. Now we've been on, we won't see that again, but a lot of the public, they don't know. They just know their friend got in the house, $600,000, and they're paying $1,200 a month. I want that. Well, I wanted that too, So, but we missed that boat. So I think a lot of people are realizing that, and if you look at the polls, people say if I can get 5.5%. Or just even under 6% rate, then I'll make a move. And I think we're inching towards that. So, and buyer demand is still high. It's still high.
Buyer demand is still high.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buyers right now.
Yeah.
And I would say that the things that I've been challenged with is more so just they worked with agents before, and the agents are no longer here. And now they're picking up the phone calling me.
Yeah.
So the challenge is just that, oh, well, this agent didn't do that. So now, sometimes we carry on PTSD, right?
Yep.
And it is a situation where they're like, well, this agent didn't do this and we're doing this, So that's one thing I could say that with my buyers, a large percentage of them were trying to do business during a pandemic or post-pandemic, and now they're trying to get back into the swing of things. And just now informing them that, hey, things have changed after August 17th.
That's right.
The way we do business isn't the same.
That's right.
A lot of the expenses you're going to have to be accountable for.
Absolutely.
So those, I wouldn't say hard conversations, but needed conversations are definitely something that I've been seeing. I haven't had a problem with them.
Right.
But it's just more so just changing their mind.
Right.
And putting them on the mindset that, yes, this is the new way of real estate now.
Yep. Absolutely.
This is the new way.
Well,
this is how we're going to do business moving forward.
And it's not shocking that you personally don't have a problem with that, because the way you conduct business. Every time I've ever like conducted any type of business with you has been business. You've done a really good job at that. And if your clients can see that, they see the value that you bring. So it's no problem saying, hey, this is my fee, this is what I charge, whether they're going to get help from that for a seller or not. They're going to be willing to pay that to you because they want great representation, right?
So now the biggest question or the biggest takeaway is representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do think that representation matters nowadays with what's going on. And I think that moving forward, if we focus more as agents too, in terms of our marketing, making sure that we are presenting that true representation and transparency.
Right.
I think that 2025 could be very successful.
I feel the same.
I do.
1,000%. I feel the same.
We'll leave it at this too, Terrell, because one thing I would say is that it's been a blessing working underneath you.
Absolutely.
It has been. And it's more to come. It's more to come. And
absolutely.
You're going to look back on this interview and go like, dang, I had the opportunity to, well, you've already been.
I can believe that. No, I
had to talk my stuff though. I had to
nah,
talk my stuff.
I 1,000% believe and know that you're going to be doing phenomenal things, even bigger than what you're doing right now in this industry.
Well, I told you my goals in our private conversation, what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
So having your support in the future will be needed.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yes, because I need your blessing.
Absolutely.
I need your blessing.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, I could say since we've been paired up, my business has soared.
Yeah.
That's without a doubt.
And that's the key, and it's going to continue. It's going to continue because of who you are.
Well, I appreciate that so much.
Thanks for thinking of me, man.
Thank you for having me.
So I don't made the platform that the GAR president and nah.